I mean, I'm literally getting my mom back.
Wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I was losing her, so, for whatever reason, whether it was because of 3 of these or not, I'm getting my mom back.
God bless you,
I'm
Julia.
so grateful.
Wow. And you're crediting it to this, or there's a big part of that? You really
It
are?
started happening when this started happening.
Wow.
Hi, I am back again with the gorgeous Danielle Matthews from Brain Body Self. And Danielle and I are going to talk to you about some important aspects to do with the redox signaling molecules, because we get a lot of questions about, how does it work? How is it made? Is it just salt water, etc.? So we're going to cover a lot of the frequently asked questions that I get sent through to me today in that. But Danielle, how are you doing?
I'm fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. I have a lot to celebrate this week. You know that part of what I do is Asea, and then I've also come out with an ebook, and it got launched yesterday, so it's a good week. And I'm glad to be back on here with you.
I want to start with this because you are one of the most positive people I know, and let's start with your journey about your brain injury, because I really think when anyone's been through what you've been through, with that traumatic of having the rug pulled out up from under you, particularly at such an early age, it must change the way, what you look at with your purpose in life and what you want to do with your life.
Oh, absolutely. It's interesting because my car accident, so I got hit by a drunk driver, which is like so much of life, it feels like is out of our control. And that morning, I was on my way to a wedding, going to meet my parents, and all of a sudden, I'm literally crashed into head on, and my world changed. It just went upside down in a matter of seconds. And I didn't realize it that morning, but it was in the weeks and months and now years that have come since then, and that happened 10 years ago, that I've realized the power of that moment on a lot of levels. I think, my perspective on life totally shifted in realizing that, wow, everything that's unfolding is really unfolding, for us and on part for us to learn what's within us and kind of guide us into the path we're supposed to be on. And it's so crazy because that guidance, took me to Asea, which I'm happy to get into that story. And I'd love to share with everyone because it was such a powerful journey. But what happened was, for a year, I was resistant to my injury, and I was really pushing, and I was a mess psychologically.
Bad, wasn't it? I mean, you were literally pretty much.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't work. I had to stop. I had been teaching at the time. I ended up back home, and my full focus was just on trying to get myself healthy. But my world I didn't recognize it. I couldn't hang out with friends. I couldn't get on screens. So I couldn't be on a computer or TV or phone. I couldn't handle any sort of input. I kind of glaze over it sometimes, but it's there was so much I could not spend my time doing. And I was really in bed most hours of the day. And we had blackout fabric, in the bedroom because just even natural light was too intense. And, noise would set me off too. And, it was rough. I mean, I would have panic attacks that I'd soak my shirt from crying. It was a really intense time. And my doctor told me after a year that this was my new normal. 24 years old. And he says to me, look, your body's done the healing it's going to do. This is just something you're going to have to shape your life around. And I'm I remember sitting there and thinking, well, you're fired. I wish the words had come out of my mouth, because who knows how many other people who said that to, but something within me refused to accept that. And I just thought, this isn't a life worth living. I can't do this. I'm 24 years old. I can't earn an income. I can't hang out with people. I can't do anything. And I'm so grateful that, the answers ended up coming into my world. But yeah, Catherine, it was tough.
And one of the things I loved about your story is your mother found out from a holistic therapist about the Asea, and yes, she tried it and had great results with you and your father, but your biologist mind kicked in. Danielle and I are both biologists. We have so many fascinating conversations, but I think that's really important because there are so many products on the market, aren't there, that no wonder people are so skeptical.
Yeah, no kidding. And for myself, so here's what happened. So he tells me that, right? And I immediately have this resistance to the notion that this is going to be forever. And we kept searching, this whole time we were searching for alternative things. But my mom used to run a yoga studio, and she had some incredible clients in the Annapolis, Maryland area. And one of them was an acupuncturist. And she called my mom and she said to my mom, listen, I found something revolutionary in my practice. It's like nothing I've ever used before. It's going in and it's helping each one of my clients in a different way. And she was describing how this was going, and it was basically just increasing the signal so that person's body could find the damage and then the body could repair itself. And she said people with digestive stuff, it was working on hormonal things, you know. And she said, she was the one that said, I believe it could pass the blood-brain barrier and it could help Danielle. And so my mom, I mean, you have to imagine it's like on a silver platter, right? The answer in front of her. And she just intuitively was like, yes, brings it home to me. And she met a wall because I was like, Mom, did you look into this stuff? Like, all those claims sound ridiculous. I said, did you look at the ingredients? It's water and sodium chloride. I said, that is salt water. And I said, your friend's involved in a scam? No, thank you. And I literally got online and I Googled it and I showed her. I said, yeah, see, there's some website talking about it's a scam, Mom. Like, you know, and I just like totally ignored it. But my mom, she believed her friend. She's like, Danielle, I know that she's correct, you know, and like she's seen it visibly in her practice. Like, why else would this be other than them taking the Redox? So my mom started drinking it. And Catherine, I witnessed this happen in front of my own eyes, and I still couldn't accept it. My mom had bone on bone in her hands. Like, she could not even make a fist. So much inflammation. She starts drinking this. Within 6 weeks, she has full range of motion coming back into her hands. And I watched it, and you could even see like her knuckles were not as like angry looking. And I remember thinking like, it's gotta be a placebo. Like, you know, like that stuff certainly didn't do it. But my dad, you know, he wasn't as thick-headed as me. My dad was like, okay, it helped your joints. Let's see what it does for mine. My dad had a knee injury from 30 years prior, and starts drinking it. And literally within 10 days for my dad, he wasn't having to wear his brace, because he wasn't having discomfort. He was working out on a level. He said, I feel like I'm 30 years old again. Like, I'm repairing quickly. I've got energy. I'm doing more than I feel like I should be doing at my age, but I can. And that's when they went, all right, what is this stuff? And my dad's a bit more analytical too. And so he was like, well, what's the science on this? And they started researching. And what's so cool is initial, because like we're talking the beginning of when Asea was out there, the initial studies and research were, a lot of them were on athletes. And so my dad felt very validated and like, yeah, okay, so these mice were being shown to have more endurance. And he's like, that's exactly what's happening with me. I'm rowing way further. I'm running way further. And so then they were told, like, this is a massive field of science. And I'll never forget them coming back to me and saying, Danielle, Asea didn't make this up. This is the field of science that is just too new. You weren't taught about it in school. It wasn't in your textbooks. And I remember thinking like, oh, you know, sometimes in life, like, you don't know what you don't know. And our ego, I think, gets in the way sometimes. And we think, oh, I know everything there is to know. You don't. And so I said, okay, well, this stuff can't hurt. You know, it might help. Let's see what it brings me. And I still thought they were wasting their money. I still really couldn't understand what it was. But I didn't have immediate results like my parents. It was 3 months, literally like 90 days before I noticed anything. And they had me drinking double. I was drinking 8 ounces a day. And on around the 90th day, the pounding that had been in my head relentlessly for 2 years, like it stopped. And all of a sudden I could focus again. I had energy again. And I remember my cognitive therapist saying to me, I'll never forget this moment. I'm sitting in her office across from her. And she said, Danielle, I've worked with brain injury for 30 years. Never seen someone have such a rapid recovery so far out from the trauma. And she said, with your injury, it doesn't happen. The hell is that stuff you started drinking? That was the moment that I went, yeah, what is that stuff? Because my answer to her was, it's salt water. And she said, clearly it's not. So what is it? And that was a catalyst. Like you said, you have these like inflection points in your life, you know, a conversation, a person, a moment. Obviously my accident was, but it was actually her saying to me, this isn't normal. You should not be having the progress you're having. What did you do? Because for 30 years, I've never seen this. That's when I stepped back and went, okay. And then her next words were, all my other clients need to know this is out there. And I thought, yeah, we have a responsibility to learn what this is so we can tell them about it too.
And that's why you and I have so much in common, because we're just so passionate about helping other people help themselves. And one of the things I've learned over the many years I've been working in my holistic practice is that everyone wants to learn and understand in different ways. So you've got some people like my husband who just says, just give it to me, Catherine, and I'll take it. I trust you. I don't really mind how it works. And then you've got other people like you and me, where we want to know exactly how it works, but not just on a medical, biological, but also on a metaphysical level as well. And you've got every sort of person in between. So I know it was really funny. I must just say, when I first started working with Danielle, I was like, all these questions, because it wasn't that I didn't believe in it, because by this stage I've been using it for long enough to see the results, is that I like to understand it on lots of different levels so that I can help other people understand it in a way that makes sense for them, because everyone wants the information in a different form. Now let's cover this. It's not just salt water, because there's so much information out there. And obviously when you look at the ingredients on the bottle, it says that, but it goes through a huge production process. Can you talk us through that, Danielle?
Yeah, I was actually just out at their production facility like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and it's incredible. It takes them 3.5 days to make what's in that bottle of Asea. And yeah, let's talk about it. So this is what's so beautiful, right? Life is so simple. Your body is basically a sack of saline, and there is a reason. The body uses it as building blocks. So it uses the sodium and chloride of salt, and it uses the hydrogen and oxygen that's in water, right? Water's H2O. And your body takes that and it rips apart those bonds. So now you've got sodium and chloride floating around and hydrogen and oxygen floating around. And then the body just reformulates different molecules. All right. So superoxide, right? Bring a bunch of oxygens together, hydrogen peroxide, H2O2. It's just got one more oxygen than water. And it's a very different molecule doing very different functions. And so that's what's going on in the chemistry of our body, you know, in every cell. This is done in the mitochondria. And just the issue is that our mitochondria are less efficient after puberty. And so as you kind of go through life, the production of these reductants, the ones that end up net negative, and oxidants, the ones that are positive, that's where the term redox comes from. But these redox molecules, the production declines with age. And so all of a sudden, these molecules, which in the body, when they're restructured and reformulated, you know, 2 to 4 atoms big, they are then sent out and they have different functions. They're signaling, like when there's damage, they're the alert call that goes out. And so as you're aging, that alert call, it just gets quieter. And so the beauty of what Asea has is they take the same base ingredients, literally as pure sodium chloride as they can get, and as pure H2O as they can get. Like they take all the dissolved solids, everything out that they can, because they just need those building blocks. And then Asea has figured out something that takes nanoseconds in our body to do. It takes them 3.5 days, but they figure out how to break the bonds and reformulate and get these reductants and oxidants structured so that they're sitting stable in that bottle. And it's not like scientists haven't known about this, et cetera. It's just that the impossibility factor was you can't put a reductant and an oxidant in the same vessel and not have them react.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to have hot and cold water put into a bottle and the hot water stays on that side and the cold water on that side. Like it just, no, you're going to get lukewarm water, you know? And that's what was decided with reductants and oxidants. Like it's like stabilizing a spark. They're just too active. So when Asea figured this out, it's like, it's phenomenal. If you just look at it from like a researcher's point of view, like, holy cow. And I just learned like there's now like, I think it was out of Australia, a university that's seeking out Asea saying, we have learned that you stabilize redox molecules. We want to do research with those molecules. And they're coming with their own funding to do it. You know, Asea does their own research globally. Like they partner with a lot of different universities, but it's just so fascinating to me because this is a biotech discovery. This is a biotechnology. And it's something that, you know, just it happens to be coming to market through word of mouth. So people hear it like from me, from you, which sometimes is like, well, how come they know about a breakthrough, right? Why am I not hearing it on the news? But, you know, when was the last time you heard good news on the news? So,
yeah.
Yeah, but that's, you know, that's why. And the other thing people say, well, why doesn't it label the like actual reductants and oxidants? Because that's not the ingredient list. Like the ingredients is what goes in. It's kind of like when you make a cake, like it doesn't say ingredient, angel food cake. Like, no, that's the product. You put in water and, you know, flour and eggs and sugar, and then you add some energy and you get an angel food cake. You put in salt and water, you add some energy, and you get these reductants and oxidants. And there's a certification. Actually, the company now is using two places out in Europe, close to you, I think they're in Germany, that certify the presence of these reductants and oxidants in Asea so that you know that it's no longer saline, They literally have the instruments that are sophisticated enough to find these little itty bitty molecules and say, yeah, this is literally filled with redox signaling. So it's a common question. I would say, like, if you don't ask the question, I would kind of wonder, like, what's going on? You might be blindly trusting too much. But yeah, like, once you understand the answer, it's like, oh, okay. And like the body is just like so beautiful. I think you and I could go on tangents about that, but just like how magnificent, but also simple this machine is, you know?
I just love it, Danielle. And I just love the way you're so good at explaining things, because trust me, folks, anyone that's watching this, I am not going to be telling you about something that I don't 100% trust, because I've been a holistic therapist working with people and animals all over the globe for over 20 years now. And that reputation is so, so important with me, because that sums up exactly what I'm about and what my passion is in life. But equally, I'm so enthusiastic about it, like Danielle is, because when you find something that works so well, we all have so much to deal with in today's modern world and modern society. You know, it's like a little knowledge. The more you start finding out what's going on in the world, the more fear and stress it can add to you if you're not careful. Because once you find out what's in our food, what's in our water, what's in our air, what they're doing to our soul, the way the pharmaceutical industry works, you name it, the education, whatever, it's a bit like this cascade of like, oh my God. I mean, I love horses. Everyone who knows me knows I love horses. And in the UK, we have a huge horse show every year called the Horse of the Year show. And when I was a child, I used to love going to the Horse of the Year show, because I used to look at all these beautiful horses and riders and be in awe. And then the more I work with horses, the more I realize how much cruelty is inflicted on them with a lot of these disciplines. I remember I took some people that I was working with as a Christmas treat a few years ago, and we all sat there just in misery, because the only bit we could actually enjoy was the pantomime horse when there were people were dressed up, because it was the only bit that didn't have cruelty involved. Yeah. And it's a bit like this in the world we're at, but when you then look at, but there's so many solutions out there. Yes. And trust me, the solutions absolutely can be prayer. They can be gratitude. Most people who watch Danielle and I might be aware of the Dr. Emoto messages from water, and how much the power of the word and the power of the thoughts can actually change the crystalline structure. And we're all 70% water. This is water, etc. So there's so many different ways that you can work with it. But when you find tools that can take this fear and stress away from people, for me, that's so magical, because then they can get on living their lives in the best possible way.
Yeah, well, and we talked about like how we both love the biology, the chemistry, but also the metaphysical piece. And I think what you just said, like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but for me, it was like, once my physical body got well, it's like this has helped tap into something else within me, where like a negative attitude just doesn't last. It like slides away from me. It's like, it's almost like spiritually, it's bringing me into alignment. And, you know, my meditations are deeper. My intuition has increased, where I'm like, holy cow, did we know that we had access to all of this? Like, it's just amazing. And I think there's so much to this. Like, honestly, I think we're still uncovering. I honestly believe we're at the tip of the iceberg with what this is doing, because it was divine guidance with how they figured out how to stabilize these molecules. And so I think there's something very special within that bottle, and then when it comes into us, it helps us. Like, I really believe it's helping lift and change and raise our consciousness and our conscious level of awareness. But like, you have to get the physical body right first before it can work in the vital energy body, you know? So it's like, if your physical body's not right and you've got something that's really solidified in there, we need to work that out. And then it can start working into the, you know, the more subtle layers of who we are. I don't know if you're at that phase yet, if you've had those experiences, but it's like evolution with this thing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who watch me or work with me know that animal communication is one of my real passions, and I've been doing this for years. But I have noticed a combination of two things over the last sort of 6 months to a year. First and foremost, the clients that I'm working with are, if I was to write a manifest manual of my perfect clients to work with, they all tick the box, every single one of them, because I cannot tell you how amazing it is to be working with people that are so open-minded, so moving forward in a way that they really want to help themselves, them animals, the world at large. So that's definitely attracting that. But what I'm noticing is my communication skills, my intuition, everything have just moved up to a completely different level. And this is something that I wasn't taking Asea to think, oh, let's improve my animal communication skills, not at all. But what I've done is it's just exactly that. Once you start working physically, anyone who's watching this that's been in long-term pain or has got a long-term health issue, you know how much that drains you. And at the end of the day, every one of our cells is like a little battery pack. And we have a certain finite amount of energy that as a human being that we can use, and it's how you use it. And what I found is this just opens up so many choices for you, because what it makes is those energy battery packs just work so much more efficiently, which is why we're seeing so many amazing performance athletes, my daughter included, have just miraculous results with it. But at whatever level you're at, I mean, one of my really dear friends unfortunately had throat cancer and mouth cancer about, I don't know, probably about 8 or 9 years ago. And ever since he had the operation, he has been in a lot of pain all down the skin and the operation side. And after only 3 weeks of using the gel, he noticed a difference on day one. He's taken the Asea as well. But this, you know, when you've had that level of pain, it's so debilitating, not just on a physical level, but on an emotional level, because on an emotional level, it's a constant reminder of the disease, of the operation, of the healing process, etc. So on so many different levels, it's a reminder to you, and this really can transform so many people. And I use it on my animals and my clients all the time. I must just say, one of my amazing friends who also uses Asea for herself and her dog, she's the most fantastic therapist. I won't say her name here because I haven't asked her permission, but she is off the scale brilliant. So if anyone wants to know, I can put you in contact with her. But one of the horses at her farm had a really horrific accident and completely sliced its leg open, blood gushing everywhere. I mean, horrendous. She was on hand. And with a combination of, she trained with me with the essential oils and everything as well, with combination of that and the Asea, this horse has made the most miraculous recovery. The vet cannot believe it, because, I mean, it was, you know, very much about to be put down. It's just phenomenal, because she was on hand and she had the right things in her toolkit and she knew how to use them. And she's literally saved this horse's life. She's incredible. So yeah, I'm just so excited about it. And I really wanted to cover to people about the saltwater thing, because of course you are going to pick up the bottle and you'll look at that, and also Google, you'll hear people slagging off everything, but trust us, it's not just saltwater.
Not.
Don't just trust us. I will also put a link below to the video that shows the production facility as well, because I love that. I've worked in production for quite a lot of my various other careers, and it's fantastic, and you can see when something's really done properly.
Well, and even beyond like just the machinery, like they actually had to develop certain machinery because these molecules react with anything metal, anything organic. And so a lot of machinery has metal in it. So like they had to develop certain machines to be able to work within their facility. And the people, I think this is something that like you can't get unless you're there. And I'll attempt to share it with you guys. But it's like trying to describe the Grand Canyon, you know, here in the US. I could tell you all about it, Catherine, but until you're standing beside it on the edge of it, you will not be able to understand the gravity, like how incredibly massive that place is. It's the same with Asea. Like there is something, there's like an intangible, and it's the heart, it's the spirit. When you're walking through the production facility, I mean, it's gorgeous. And you'll see in that video, everybody should go watch it. I think it's a quick 5-minute video, but the people are happy.
Yeah.
And the production facility manager was there. And I thought, yes, how appropriate. And you know, I've gone there several times. I've probably been there 5-6 times. I've never met him. And he was standing out on the floor, and I asked him, I said, you know, everyone feels so genuinely happy. And like, I have the discernment to know, is someone giving me like a facade, or is their spirit happy? These people's spirit is happy. And he said, you know, Danielle, if someone's having a bad day emotionally, or they feel sick, they feel off, we tell them, go home. We pay them for the rest of the day. And we say, just like, get back into alignment. We'll see you tomorrow. And I thought, how brilliant, because all of them, they touch every single one of our bottles, every, you know, tube of gel is touched by a person. you know, and I just like, what beautiful energy then that's put into that. Like that's part of it. And I just think they've got something going on right there. The spirit and of that is just very heart-centered, and you feel it when you're there. You go to the office and you walk through. I mean, it's an immaculate space. It's a beautiful space, but the people are all also smiling and super friendly, you know, and you ask them off the cuff, like, do you like working here? What do you like? They're like, oh my gosh, it's an empowering place to work. They power my potential. And that's like, it's the slogan of Asea, but I think so often, like, you can write off a slogan. It's like, it's not just words, like the employees feel that way. And you can see it in their eyes, like the fire is bright in their eyes. So I just, if that can help explain to you guys, I know it's hard to like share feelings in that way, but there's something special going on there, and it, you know, it gets transferred to all of us. It's a beautiful thing, and we attract in a certain type of person. That's another thing. The president of the company said that finally, because of the restrictions, you know, and travel being much easier, he's traveled around. He said, I have met over 1,000 associates for dinner in the last year with my wife, and he said the thing that is true with all of them is they are just good, solid people. They want to lift humanity and they want to help. And he said, it just blows my mind, because here I am at an office in Utah, you know, and I know what we have, and I know the energy we have here, but to see it globally, every country, and he's traveled to all 33 countries we're open in. And it's just like, yeah, it's something special.
It really is. It really is. Now, before I get on to ask you about something really important to do with your ebook I want to share, I do want to say to anyone listening to this, Asea is absolutely amazing. The website you order from needs some work.
Yes.
They put all
know
their
it.
into the product. The website is a little bit tricky when you're first introduced to it. So below the video in the description box, there will be contact details. There will be my email to contact me, and there will be a number for Jay from Spiritually Raw, because he handles a lot of the inquiries for me when I'm too busy, or the people particularly in the USA and Canada because of the time difference. I would implore anyone, it's not, no one's going to push you into anything. We're just going to help you through that process to make sure you get the right amount of products at the right time in the most cost-effective way for yourself. Once you've done it once, you're away and running. But the first sign-up process, unless you're really, really brilliant on the computer, can be a little bit challenging. So I would please encourage you. There's an email address below that I will also pin as a comment, and there's a text number that you can text for, or Jay, WhatsApp him, text him, whatever's easier for you. And one of us will get back to you very, very quickly and arrange a convenient time to talk you through the process. It's so worth it just for that first time. After that, you'll be away and running, and we're here to support you, answer any questions. But please, please do that, because otherwise I've had so many people that get halfway through the process and get stuck.
So a little confused, but also I think it's important to understand how much to take.
Yes.
You know, and that's, I think, why it's so important to have a conversation beforehand. First, figure out, well, which option makes sense for ordering? How can we save you the most money? But then, like, what does the bottle equate to? Like, how much should I be drinking? I think that's a conversation that I have often with people. And, you know, we do it in ounces here in the US, but between 4 and 8 ounces is really, you know, where people fluctuate between. And it has to do with your age, because you make less as you get older. So people over 50, I typically say, like, you just need to look at 8 ounces, right? But then people with health challenges, you know, I visualize these molecules like construction workers. And so each of us has a house. As the house gets older, more things pop up. We've got issues there, right? Maybe a hurricane came through and you had an issue like I did, you know, car accident came through. It's like, how many construction workers do you want on the job site? You can do 4 ounces a day. That's going to get the job done. It'll just take longer. You do 8 ounces a day. The job's going to get done faster. And so that's really how you kind of have to look at it and gauge it. And I call it the magic 8, because I drank 8 ounces a day. You know, that's where I saw what I saw with myself. And still, it even took 3 months. So you got to be patient. You know, you could have a crew come into a house and do some work, and you'd think they didn't do anything today, but maybe they were working on something tiny that wasn't like the big, like a paint job, you know, but they were working somewhere tiny that was electrical, that could have caused a fire. You know, it's the same happens in your body. And so just be patient, you know, visualize. To me, I always visualize. It's like, all right, these little worker bees are going to work in my body now. And take enough, you know, for enough time, right? Give yourself the chance to have an incredible experience with this, like we've had and are continuing to have.
Yeah. And I would reach out, any of you, I know a lot of people have asked about coming on and sharing their testimonials. I'm doing that. So anyone watching that's already taken it and has got some experiences to share, contact me on the number below, on the email below, and we will get in contact, because people love hearing those stories. So to finish off, Danielle, I just wanted to ask you a bit about your new ebook that you've just launched, because you are, Asea is one of the tools that you use to help people in all aspects of their life, but you've just launched a lovely new ebook, and the link will be below. But tell us what people can expect from that.
Yeah, well, you know, I think in life, it's mind, body, spirit, and prosperity. Like, you need all of that. And this, obviously, with Asea, it's the body piece. It helps empower your body. To me, it's also a spiritual piece because we're all connected in what we're doing together, the work there, and the prosperity piece. But the mind, like, you have to get your mind right for anything. I think that's where it all starts. And so this ebook, literally, it's called Mind Control. It's all in your head, because that was the lesson I learned. Like, I had to learn a psychological lesson on my journey. I told you at the beginning, that first year was very difficult and I was butting up against things, but I had a pivot where I switched how I was looking at my life, how I was looking at the external world, and it totally changed my reality. And then I realized, wow, it's all happening for me. And oh my gosh, I can control what I'm thinking. I can control what I'm doing. And then I started to learn that, wow, you can actually create your world. But it wasn't until I realized and like mastered my own mind before I realized, wow, I can use my thoughts to actually shift and change my external world. And I share that with everyone in the ebook. So if you're going through a struggle, if you're just, life is just like feeling like, you know, you're running up against obstacles, like, take a listen, take a read, I should say. It's not a listen, it's a read. And I hope, my intent was to give back what I learned. You know, I think that in life, when we have coaches, when we have mentors, they collapse time for us. And they help us understand things that, you know, they maybe learned the hard way. And I'd say I certainly learned a lot of things the hard way. And I just wanted to give back to help, you know, those that are on the path going up through similar things, you know, on their journeys, to just reach back and say, hey, like, check this out. Just like I do with Asea, like, hey, I know this can support your physical body. Like, you know, let's get that in you. And I know that this will support people's mental health and bringing awareness into, you know, mastering their own mind.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So all the links about how you can, one, find out more about Asea, and very importantly, connecting with Danielle, her ebook. She's got some beautiful meditations on her website as well that I would really recommend. They're all in the description box below the video. So take a look at that. Thank you so much, Danielle. Really, I love connecting with you all the time. And thank you to anyone that has taken the time to listen to this. And, you know, I just always really believe in divine timing. So just go with what's right for you. If there's something that you're attracted to and you think, I really need this in my life, reach out. If not, that's absolutely fantastic. There might be people that you know that need a little bit of helping hand, because that collapse in time is really important. We want to all be in the best possible version of ourselves and making the most of every day.
Well said. Beautifully said, Catherine. You're a blessing. And I've had the benefit, I just want to say, I've gotten to meet many of your listeners who have gone through their journeys with Asea, and it's just the most incredible community of people. So I thank you for the space that you've created and that you hold for everybody.
Thank you. I really am so lucky. They really are amazing, because anyone that takes time to watch me, they are really at a stage where they're so ready to help themselves and help the bigger communities in whatever way is right for them. And they're all, anyone who's watching this, you are very much appreciated. So thank you. Speak soon, Danielle.
All right, sounds good.
Bye.
So, I mean, I'm literally getting my mom back. It's
Wow.
beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful. I was losing her, so, you know, for whatever reason, whether it was because of 3 of these or not, I'm getting my mom back.
God bless you,
I'm
Julia.
so grateful.
Wow. And you're crediting it to this, or does a big part of that? You really are?
It started happening when this started happening.
Wow.